Hello, Black women. Who are you really? Do you even know how to answer that question? Beyond your job, beyond your trauma, beyond the roles that you play in other people's lives, right? That's what we're talking about today. We're talking about your identity. So if you feel like you have lost yourself or you cannot answer the question, who am I? You are in the right place. Today is for you. It is a season of rediscovery. It's a season of creation. So let's talk about it. Let's heal. Before I go on, hello everybody and welcome back to Find Your Light. Amen. I am Rushni. I am a certified life coach. I am a content creator. I am a Black woman healing. I help Black women heal and create lives that they love. Okay. I am live on YouTube and Facebook. If you are watching live, drop a pineapple emoji in the chat and let me know where in the world you are watching from. Also, if you can answer the question, who am I? Type your answer in the comment section. I would love to hear what your answer is. All right. Three things before we begin. I am back after taking a few weeks off from going live. I typically go live every single Friday. More on that in a second. And twice a year, I do a 2-week work sabbatical, work Sabbath, where I basically pause or like lower the capacity on all the things work related. I can't do all of it because it's a one woman show back here. Okay, so I'm running my business. But I take it down a notch, and one of the things I took down a notch is I did not go live for, like, 3 weeks, I think, straight, 3 weeks straight. And this particular work sabbatical lets me, get into summer from summer school, lets me celebrate my son's birthday. My son Zion is now 13 years old, and yesterday I put up a short where everybody get to hear his voice, and, yeah, it's giving Barry White, you guys. Flickerbug is sounding real Flickerbug-ish, and last night when I showed him the comments, which he was super excited about, he said, "I am not Flickerbug anymore." And I tried to record him, but he said he didn't wanna be recorded, so I left it alone. Hi, this one woman watching from Vegas. Hello. So that's what I do, and then I also celebrate the 4th of July, and I just relax. This particular work Sabbath I did what many Black women do, which is say we're gonna rest, but then go do a bunch of other stuff, but it's fine because what I was doing what I was doing was actually fun, and it was a good time, and it was play. Okay, it was play. It was just like, I'm out here playing around. I did a content sprint for a week, and then after that, I alley-ooped and kept doing some stuff that I learned from the content sprint, and now I have changed a bit of my content online, and so some of the changes that will affect this particular thing is, I am not going to be going live every single Friday like I was in the past. I am going to be heavily loaded on vertical video, so if you are on YouTube watching, you're gonna catch me on the shorts, all day, every day, many days, and you're gonna catch me on the lives at minimum once a month. Although, in the upcoming month, I already have a collaboration coming up with another lady to speak about identity, Black women, and our natural hair. So that is coming up, and I've already booked another collab for August. So I'm gonna be live at least twice in the month in, um, July and August. But moving forward for myself, there will not be hi, Sherry anymore weekly Find Your Light lives. I will be here on the 1st of the month. So cash your check and get it. And what does he say? Cash your check and I don't know what he says. Anyway, focus. And then if I have another video, I will toss it up during the month. Other than that, I will be doing vertical videos. That's one of the things that has changed. So put that down, mark that down. Secondarily, in the month of June, we spoke about grief. If you missed any of that information, go back and watch the previous videos. In the month of July, my focus is identity. Who are you? It's answering the question of who are you? This is the month in my How to Heal framework under the Pineapple Crowns coaching membership where I am adding and focusing on the information about answering the question, who are you? Why is that important? Because if you do not know who you are, you cannot create a life that you love. I help Black women create lives that they love and not just tolerate. And many of the times when I encounter women in coaching, the reason why they and I, because I am teaching them what I have learned in my own life, plus what I've learned as a certified life coach. Many of us have ended up in lives that we are tolerating because we don't know who we are and we don't know how to show up as ourselves in our lives. And so one of the foundational elements of my coaching is identity work, and that is what we're talking about all July here. in the Pineapple Crowns, okay? It also is quarter 2 in my How to Heal framework in the Pineapple Crowns membership. So the first quarter was all about the element was inspired by the element of earth, and it was about setting a foundation, okay? So if you actually joined my membership, you start at the beginning, just so you know, and so you would be starting in month 1, month 2, month 3, like that, and the first month was all about establishing safety, the second month was about finding your voice, and the third month, as you guys saw, was about grief, yeah? And so that was all inspired by foundational earth and rooting. In quarter 2, which is where I'm starting right now with identity work, it is all inspired about water, about evolution, about flow, and about taking up space and finding its actual shape. Okay. My brain said do it by the elements. That makes sense to me. So in quarter 2, the first thing we're doing is establishing your identity, which is part of your self concept, right? Who you believe to be, your narrative self, who you are existing as, and spoiler, which I'm going to get to later, it is not a fixed thing. Your identity is fluid. It is something that not only you rediscover, it's something that you express and live out, and it's something that you get to create. Okay. So that's the second thing. This month is going to be all about identity here. And in my coaching membership and the coaching group coaching call topic, which let me tell you guys, our next group coaching call is Sunday, July the 27th in the Pineapple Crowns membership. If you want to join, the link's on the screen and in the information box on whatever platform you're watching on. Our next group coaching call is going to be about identity work. Who are you anyway? All right. This particular month, we also have pre-recorded guest coaching by emotional wellness coach Angela Kanu. She's also a social worker, all about identity, trauma, and the developing brain, and how trauma affects how your brain develops. Yeah, all good stuff. So just stay tuned. The last thing I want to tell you guys is this video is brought to you by Black Girl Vitamins. Why? Because the products work and the check's clear. Okay. I have 2 empty bottles by Black Girl Vitamins. I told you guys in previous videos that they sent me this one. They sent me this D3 months ago, sat on the floor, ignored it because it's gummies, and I think gummies are candy and they aren't effective and they don't work. My son's D3 case to finish, I decided to just grab this as an interim, took it, and 2 or 3 days later, about 3 days later, I started noticing a boost in my energy. What? I reached out to them, they gave me a coupon code. The coupon code is in the information box. If you enter Glamazzini, okay, you can get 20% off your order. Not only that, they sent me more product. They sent me this hair, skin, and nails, which you can see I've cleared out. I'm waiting for my next bottle to show up. And this is the one that I'm actually working through. This is what the D3 gummies look like, okay? If you a black girl, if you a black girl, if you a black girl, listen, I was not a believer and I have checked. I've had other people ask me questions recently. Are they vegan? Yes. Are they dairy free? Yes. Are they gluten free? Yes. They're all these things. Do they have a low sugar version? They do. They just came out with it. I had to look all this stuff up because people were looking at it for me. And the video is brought to you by Black Girl Vitamins. Check them out. They also sent me the collagen. I have not used it yet. I know Stephanie Perry says she uses the sea moss and she loves it. And I have a friend who swears by the Menochill. I don't do ashwagandha, so I'm going to leave the Menochill alone. But everybody else I know says that it's amazing. Don't say I've never put you on. Okay, you can thank me later, or you can thank me now. All right, so now let's get to identity and answering the question of who are you. Um, I believe that who are you is a foundational question that all of us could spend time trying to formulate an answer for if we are a Black woman healing. Identity means um, understanding how you intend to show up in the world, and sometimes going back and rediscovering who you are divinely designed to be, as well as, I believe, designing and creating her. Because sometimes you may not feel like you had the foundation based off of your lived experience, your family of origin, your trauma story, all of that. But the good news is, Black women, okay, identity is not fixed. So even though I believe it's important to know who you are so that you are not creating and showing up in your life as a performance and creating somebody else's life, because we off that. We're off that in 2025, 92%. Okay. I also want to encourage you and let you know that it's not stuck. You're not stuck with something that you believe is an identity part of you, especially if it's something that you want to show up as differently, okay? So identity is who am I? It's not who you had to be. I'm looking at my notes. Y'all know I have notes because I don't wanna forget. But I feel a little rusty. I did this every week for, like, years, and I haven't been out here for 3 weeks. I feel a little rusty. I feel a little Talladega Nights. I don't know what to do with my hands. StreamYard changes something every 2 seconds. So I open it up and I got, like, 27 notifications. There's buttons on the screen I've never seen before. What is happening? Let me hydrate. Okay. Let me hydrate. Let's get back to it. Okay, I'm gonna make it through. So it's not who you are or not who you had to be. Identity is not the performance that you've had to put. Identity is not your code switch. It's not who people told you that you have to be. It's not who you had to perform to be, to feel safe, to get praise, to feel included, to feel like you belonged, okay? Which that's not true belonging, okay? If you have to break off pieces of yourself and pretend to be something, that's not true belonging. Some Black women, many Black women have never, okay? I'm talking about never been given space to ask the question, who am I really? What do I actually value? What does success look like for me? What am I good at? What am I not good at? What's my temperament? What am I doing here? Do I actually want to do this? Many of us are just put on a little capitalism conveyor belt, a black excellence conveyor belt, and we just pop, 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 pop up to a certain point. And I believe that there's a elevation of consciousness happening all around us right now, where so many of us are like coming to and being like, wait a minute, what am I doing? How did I get here? Nobody's supposed to be here. Deborah Cox. Okay. And so the question of identity, this is a perfect time to have this conversation, right? Because what do you love? What do you enjoy? What do you need? Many of us are given a prescriptive list and we try to live off that list and it is not satisfying. It is not satisfying. So this month, let's talk about taking up space, asking those questions, and I'm going to start giving you some tools that you can use to answer them. So let's start first about what identity actually is. Identity is not the roles that you play in other people's lives. Black women, identity is not the roles that you play in other people's lives. Hey, Black women, guess what? Identity is not the roles that you play in other people's blasted lives. Sorry, that was aggressive. Hydration, rushing. If you cannot tell me a role, I want you to drop this in the comment, right? If you can't tell me a role you play in somebody else's life, like you're a cousin, you're a mother, you're an executive assistant, you're an auntie, you're a pastor, you're an elder, you're a volunteer. If you can't tell me a role, you can't tell me your job, you can't use a relational identity, you can't tell me your trauma, who are you? Describe who you are and answer the question in the comment section. Who am I? Without referencing a role you play in somebody's life, your trauma, your job. I find that most Black women that I start talking to about this, when I have asked this question in the past on the internet, they can't. I find that not only can they not, when I say to do it, I will have people push back and say something along the lines of, well, I am a mom, but it's the most important thing that I do. So therefore, that is who I am. So not only do they not know, they don't want to know. Hi, Marissa. We have been conditioned to subjugate our authentic selves to a system that needs us to not know who we are so we can easily become capital in the capitalism. But identity is a necessary underpinning of a beautiful, creative, and authentic life that reflects who you are divinely designed to be and not who a system and or other people need you to be. This is not a unique experience of Black women only. Plenty of women in our social construct have this happen to them. I have non-Black friends who are coming to this awakening as well. But since I talk to the Blacks, okay, it said right here on the bottle, Black girls. Okay, listen up. If the only thing you can tell me is a role that you play in another person's life, you somebody auntie, somebody granny, somebody deacon, somebody elder, maybe the reason you hold on to those roles so tightly and those are reflective identity is because your internal compass is not wired. You are an empty vessel. Was that aggressive? Mm. Listen, I'm coming in a little smoky. Give me a second. Hydration. Let me mix it up. I put electrolytes in here. Let me make sure these electrolytes are coming in. I'm trying to speak to y'all well, but I'm trying not to be too hello. I'm trying not to be too pipey hot. Okay. Your identity is more than the roles. It's more than your trauma. It's more than your job. So what is it, Rushni? Your identity is layered and complex. Your identity includes things like your values, your beliefs, your culture, your divine design, your temperament, your interests, your strengths, what's important to you, your lived experiences, right? Identity includes your authentic self. Now, right there is a crux of the matter, right? Because most of us are trained not to show up authentically. We are trained to stay safe, that we have to show up as an inauthentic, code switching, Black excellence performance version of us. And I realize now that many people who have shown up that way don't even realize that that's not them. I am observing. I don't know what's going on in the atmosphere. I don't know if the planet's girlies could tell me what's happening, okay? My accountability partner told me something the other day when she was like, "This is the perfect time because this is a line and I was like, "Girl, I don't know." I believe you though, okay? I don't know what's going on, but there's just a consciousness raising where I am watching like all of these people snap out of this like I don't know who I am fugue where they've hit the top of the social constructs on the conveyor belt of education and accomplishments. And they're just like, "But wait, who am I?" For some reason, a lot of them are talking to me, probably because this is my jam, okay? So your identity is who you are. It's what you quote unquote bring to the table, not in the ridiculous manosphere version, but in the divinely created and appointed, who you uniquely are in this one lived life, okay? It includes your authentic self. It includes your real personality, not your pain that's become your personality, not your personality disorder that's informed by all your traumas. The actual you that you are supposed to be, that you can be, let me put it that way, and not the you that you created to survive and adapt. Identity is also not something that you have to earn. It is something that you are. It's how you show up, right? Identity's worth is inherent. Right? Identity's worth isn't you who you are, the worthiness of who you are is not something that's earned. When you believe it's something that's earned, that's when you start performing and trying to find out what is necessary so that you can feel like you have worth. It's not something you chase. Identity is something that you sit in, you exist in, and you offer to the world with an open hand. And a peaceful nervous system, an energetic calmness that says, take it or leave it. Here is who I am. Now, I'm not saying that's easy. I'm saying that's the work of the healing woman, right? That's the work of the liberated, free, wild, and healing woman to understand herself, root and plant herself firmly in who she is, discover and design her on the daily, and then with an open hand, allow the world to be attracted, almost like a flower beckoning a bee to who you actually are in the world. Okay. I was raised Black excellence, right? That terminology is like a newer concept that I know Stephanie Perry says all the time, but it's great because it's a quick way to encapsulate a thought process of what I've been calling the conveyor belt, right? You have to get into the westernized way of living. You have to go to finish high school. Then you have to get a 4-year degree at a prestigious university. After you get that 4-year degree, you got to come out and get a good job with benefits so that you could tell everybody about it. You have a certain handful of cars you can pick from. They gotta be new. You gotta get a certain type of house. They gotta look exactly the same as everybody else. You gotta get, a dog or 2 and a man, pop out a few babies, snap back immediately, aesthetic content on the internet, you know, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But here's the thing about that version of life. I defected from that life, uh, unconsciously first. I started so ma I finished the bachelor's degree. The graduate degrees, my inner child would not let me finish. I have a wake of graduate degrees behind me that I started and wouldn't finish, and I could not figure out why. Now I realize why. My inner child was rebelling because my inner child realized that I'm a creative, and that's not who I actually am, right? I was checking the boxes and I was doing what I was told, which many of us are doing, which makes sense because we're told that by people who genuinely believe and who may have done this themselves, that when you check the boxes in this systemic game that we're all in, that somehow we all automatically win prizes like it's a jackpot. But we all know that that is not the truth, especially for people living in our bodies. Okay. And at this point, we are not even progressing, we are regressing. So it's every man for himself and God for us all, which is why you need to plug into God and ask who I am because you have one lived life and you cannot count on a system that to give you something that the system was actually designed to take from you and to use you for, right? So, identity is also about letting go of outside expectations. The more healing work that I do on myself personally, the more I don't even care anymore. I don't care. Like, not in a grandiose or in a self-absorbed way, but once again, in like a rooted, peaceful way. I have I'm gonna be 50 next year, okay? And one of the things matter of fact, I have a timer right here. I have 298 days before I am 50 years old. And if God spare life and I actually make it to that point, I have had a lot of lived experiences, okay? Some things I've learned through trial and error, some things I've learned through lived experience, other things I've learned through the wisdom of others, and didn't have to bust my head to learn it. And one of the things that I've learned is the more rooted I am and the more conscious I am of who I actually am, and the more I offer me to the world with an open hand, the less I care about the validation of other people. Because if I am spending my time hyper vigilantly looking around saying, "Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Are you my mother? Are you my mother?" Who knows that reference? Okay. Then that's not my life anyway. If I ask what is acceptable to an outside person, if I survey the land for outside expectations and then I go through the whole practice of checking all those boxes, when I'm done with those box checking, that ain't my life. Been there, done that. Bought the t-shirt and have the scars to prove it. So, real identity work is letting go. It gradually teaches you to root yourself and understand that you do not need the approval of the masses because that's impossible anyway. Okay? If everybody likes you, I promise you don't like yourself. Let's move on to why most of us, especially Black women, don't know who we are. Black women, we get a lot of cultural messaging, like I said, from the jump that stunts our capacity to sit in our actual identity. Many of us are never given the opportunity to answer the question who we are. Many of us are raised by women who were never given the opportunity to answer the question of who they are. They don't know who they are, so they could never cultivate in your upbringing that it is important for you to know who you are. People who are on my page are pattern breakers. We are generational curse disruptors, okay? Unfortunately, we gotta do the work up this way and down. We gotta teach the children well while we dealing with people who are unhealed. That have nothing to do with it, okay? Focus, lock in, sis. Lock in, lock in. Okay, lock in. One of the reasons that you don't know who you are is because culturally it is very normal for Black women to be trained to be caretakers. It is very normal for Black women to be trained to be strong, and to always carry the burden of everybody else on our backs, it is very normal for Black women to be taught how to spiritualize everything and therefore bypass it all. It is very normal for Black women to take on a performative veneer of perfection, and underneath there is vapors and no comprehension of who they are. And the same goes for West Indian women, including it is very normal for West Indian women to just almost elevate and laud the fact that we are hard, emotional, unemotional, like harsh people who are abrupt and we say it like it is. That's not, that's a shell. Right? There's a shell of anger almost that is lauded in West Indian culture, at least for me, okay? And so one of the reasons you don't know is cultural messaging. Now, I'm not saying anything's wrong with our messaging. I love being a Black woman, okay? And if they asked me, if they took me up and I was a ball of light and they said, "I'm sending you back, what do you wanna be?" Black's the answer, okay? I wanna be blacker. Send me back blacker, okay? I wanna do it again. Run that back. Alright? However, within all good things, there's shadow and light. And this is the shadow side of our cultural messaging, right? You don't know who you are because you never got the opportunity to learn. You don't know who you are because your family had to train you how to survive in a system. You don't know who you are because the people that brought you up didn't know who they were. And so they're not going to be able to model it for you, nor are they going to be able to educate it, nor are they even going to elevate the fact that it's a necessary part of creating a one lived life because they may not have created a one lived life. Okay? They may not have created their one lived life. They might be out here still on the conveyor belt, giving you conveyor belt messaging, okay? But if you wanna jump off and create a life that's based off of who you actually are, this is the type of healing work you have to do. Marissa said, "I was just telling myself that the other day." I don't know which part you're talking about, Marissa, but okay. If what, it was it coming back blacker? Okay. Hello? Bring me back blacker. I'm just saying. I mean, it for all it's worth, it's a good time. Hello? Listen, I'm not gonna say it's listen, do it again. Run it back, alright? The reason you might not know is also because many of our listen, 2020, do I have to say this? We are in survival mode. 92%. They out here wilding in the streets. Who has the time to figure out who they are when you out here trying to dodge dragons and meteorites and MAGA? It's a lot going on, okay? So people have been in survival mode their entire life in a system that automatically locks you into survival mode. It's a leisure at times to be able to sit and have these conversations. Marissa said yes to gift of being black. Listen, run that thing back. Okay. If I could check off things on a list, I'm coming back darker than this, you know. I coming back darker than this, Marissa. Because growing up in the Virgin Islands, my family members are actually a bit darker than me. My skin complexion is lighter because my mom is a light complexion Black woman. So I kinda have that, like, super dark, 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 dark Black person with, like, the angular features. Bring it back again. Run it back. Woo. Anyway, thank you. Another reason you might not know who you are as part of your trauma response is you have shape shifted into people pleasing and code switching to survive. People pleasers do not know who they are because they are hyper vigilantly looking, scanning, constantly trying to elevate the needs of other people. If you are constantly externalizing your sense of self, your self concept, so that you can pretend to fulfill the needs of everyone around you, but you're empty, you don't know who you are. If you want more information on people pleaser, I have lots of videos on my page. Go under the lives. There's videos specifically about healing people, being a people pleaser. Which, listen, back in the day, if you looked up the word people pleaser, I was right there trying to please everybody except myself. Okay, code switching. It's in the name. You've switched your code. Identity is your code. You switched it to survive. It's right there. Do I have to explain that? Okay. If you switch the code of anything, that's not it. Another reason you don't know who you are is unprocessed trauma. This is not easy work to do. There's no way I'm going to walk you through how to process your trauma in a YouTube live. If you come into my coaching membership in the pineapplecrowns.com, a healing space for Black and West Indian women, I can help you move toward your healing journey in a more robust way. I also suggest that you work with a mental health professional. Okay. Which is what I am not. I'm a certified life coach. But unprocessed trauma jacks up the identity because now your identity, instead of running toward something and creating who you are spending your entire life running away from something, trying to avoid harm, get approval, and not feel unsafe. So your whole self concept is based off of running from pain, mitigating pain, not having pain, not being hard. Listen, validly so, because traumatic experiences can wire your brain to that. But think about that. If your whole personality, if your whole identity has been created from trying to avoid a thing, you're not creating your life. Your whole life is trying to avoid the shadow as opposed to running toward the light. Marissa, if you take the code out of something, if I go in the back right now, Google, and I throw in Bing, is Bing a thing? Bing's code. It's not Google anymore. The code has been switched. It's right in the name. When you go to work and you switch your Rooney up into the other heifer, who the hell is that? Girl, and you spend 8 hours, sorry, 8 hours a day, Black women. And we make jokes about it. We spend 8 hours a day pretending to be a palatable version of ourselves. And even though I see a lot of beautiful changes in Black women specifically, being able to show up as their authentic self in spaces where their actual abilities shine and they don't have to break off pieces of themselves. I also see an equitable amount of pushback. People are regressing, bucking up and acting crazy, trying to make something great that was never great. Okay. That was a good run. Running from the shadow instead of running toward the light. Yeah, your whole life. You got one lived life, y'all. Nobody, a lot of people have come and theorized about it, but to my understanding, we might not get to come back and do this one more time. Okay. We might not get to come back and do this one more time. Even if you get to come back and do this one more time, you get to do this one. So you might as well like rock this one out, right? Like this particular experience. It's like going on a roller coaster. Like rock out this experience. Your whole one lived experience is running from something. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. I'm saying once you realize that your whole personality is based off of pain and you don't know who you are, like you don't know that you want to go live on a boat and become a goat farmer. I'm talking about goats again. Why not? It's a great example. Okay, you want to be a goat farmer on a boat. Is that a thing? Focus. Y'all understand what's going on. Okay? Because your whole life is based off of trying to not have what your mama did to you happen to you again. Sis, listen, you don't know who you are. Okay? You don't know who you are. Here's a question for you. Did you grow up being told who you are and who you are supposed to be? Or did anybody ever ask you, who are you? Or observe your natural tendencies and then cultivate them? Let me tell you what, if the latter happened to you, you are blessed beyond favor. You are blessed because a lot of us are getting this healing work out the mud. Okay. A lot of us were told who to be. We were told who they would love. We were told who they would accept. We were told who would be successful. In our formative years, no wonder we didn't know who we were. Okay, let's talk about 3 truths about identity that will set you free. 3 quick truths that'll set you free. The first truth about identity that'll set you entirely free is identity is not fixed, it is fluid. Identity is allowed to change. Now, I know a whole bunch of people that get mad about this, and Imma just dip my toe in it and pop back out. Imma dip my toe in it and come back out, okay? We're not gonna have a long conversation about this, but you know when people say, "I identify as," and certain groups get all wild and crazy? It is because those groups do not believe that identity is fluid and can evolve and gets to change. And you take that and you put it wherever you need to put it. Let me have a conversation with you. There's a content creator. I don't know her name, but when I'm done with this video, I will come and put a direct link to her video on TikTok in the information box on both platforms. And she did a beautiful video that, it was blasted orgasmic to me, where she was talking about something that has been in my head for years. But the way she said it was just and it was about the fact that everyone is not thinking on the same level. Okay, let me cook. I wrote down her stuff. She said that there's 5 level of thinking. It might not be her work. She did attribute it to potentially someone else. And I do believe that she's like an educator or somebody, a researcher in this space. 5 level of thinking, not necessarily hierarchical, but 5 different ways that people show up in the world, right? Yeah, you got me? So she was like, "None is better than anyone, but you do kind of move on them as you heal and your expansiveness grows, your mental expansiveness grows." The first level is black and white binary thinking, people who think black or white. This is where I think a lot of these spaces where people are like, identity is rigid and it does not change, sit. It is black and white thinking, okay? After black and white I shouldn't say after because it's not supposed to be a well, it is a progression, but it's not a hierarchy according to her. I'm gonna say after, but y'all understand. It's complicated. After binary thinking, you have rules-based people. There are rules, there's right and wrong. There's punishment and non-punishment. There's hierarchy. And she said on her video, this is where religion lives. So after black and white thinking and then rules-based thinking, you move to self-authoring thinking, right? This is what I've always called your capacity to create. Self-authoring means you become conscious of the fact that you are creating this thing. It's not necessarily black and white. It's not necessarily right or wrong. You have the capacity to move within this physical space in this meat suit that we are in, right? And create this thing. You're driving the car. After that, you go on to systems thinking. Not only are you conscious of the fact that you are creating your own one lived life. Okay, this is for the big girls and the big boys. You become conscious of the systems, say it with me, that are working that we're all kind of like dealing with, right? There's a consciousness. So the self-authored thinking is a consciousness of self. The system thinking is a consciousness of how we all interact with each other. Have I not been telling y'all this? The fifth level of thinking is meta or transformative thinking. It's when you start to realize that there is no right or wrong, that you do have the capacity to create, that we're all just figuring this thing out. The rules aren't exactly the rules, and there is a higher level. You also become extremely peaceful because you're not trying to persecute people for wrongs and things that are lower and immature. You are just in a rooted, grounded space of creation and transformation where all of the ways of thinking have been elevated and processed in your mind. I say all this to say, okay, your identity is allowed to change. And if you don't think that your identity is allowed to change, that is fine. You are probably a black and white thinker and or you are probably a rules-based thinker where you have a very punishment and or reward-centered way of showing up in the world, and that is fine. That is just not where I am. It is not where I have been my entire life, and I thank Black Jesus that other people are finally saying these things aloud because my God, on today, she even says in her video that imagine if you are a meta thinker and you lived back in the day when most people were black and white and rules based thinkers, you probably would have been considered a witch and burned at the stake. And I'm like, my God. So, anyway, tip number one, we're back to tip number one. Thank you, Marissa. Identity is allowed to change, it is not fixed. It flows like water. If you don't like who you are showing up as in your life, you get to change that. You get to decide and then design her. You absolutely do. You absolutely do. And you take that for what it's worth. Okay. Just like the inspiration of quarter two in my healing, how to heal framework in the Pineapple Crowns coaching membership, water flows, water moves, water goes into the crevices and finds the appropriate shape, and it takes shape, and it settles, and it just pools for a second, and then when an opening comes up, it moves again. You are not stuck. Black woman, traumatized woman, exhausted woman, Black excellence woman. If you are listening to me on a digital device, it means you are alive, which means you can have choices, actions, and behaviors that create something different. Tip number 2 is you're not too late. Rediscovery, redesign, creation of an identity of who you are can happen at any stage of the game. Israel Houghton says, "Morning happens when you wake up. Stay woke." He didn't say that last part. Wake up. The minute you wake up, the minute you wake up and you think, I don't like that about me. Or I love that about me. The thing you love about yourself, you get to let it take up more space. Don't matter if people have knocked you for it your whole yesterday, somebody gave me a compliment about how I show up in the world, about something that when I was growing up, I constantly got berated for. But I just decided to ignore those people because listen, I might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I'm somebody's rum and coke. Okay, I'm somebody's Vitamalt with a little dab of milk in it. Okay, what y'all know about it? I might not be for you, right? That's why I'm talking about rooting and grounding in who you are and offering yourself to the world as opposed to running around trying to be something to everybody to get acceptance. Okay, that is an empty life. And I'm telling you that many of the places where we are told to run to get acceptance and to feel like we have fulfilled some of the check boxes, when we get up there, it doesn't satisfy. Nothing is more woo, I felt it. Hey, okay, hold up. Nothing on my healing journey has been more satisfying. No approval from man. I don't care who has clapped for me, family members, anybody, including y'all. Okay. Nothing has been more satisfying than when I put my head on a pillow and I know I showed up as Rushni and I did not betray myself. It's the most grounded root. It's like a root going down into the ground and another root coming out my body of light up to the heavens. I'm anchored in a way that nothing I don't care if my church thought it was a good idea, the job thought it was a good idea, y'all thought it was a good idea, other people I don't care who said it, external people got quiet, the volume went all the way down. I found out who Rushni was. I created her. I discovered her. I rediscovered her. I went back and I got her. And it is still a continuing journey, which is why I say Black woman healing and not healed. And it's something I want you guys to experience. Nothing has been more satisfying. You are not too late. Okay. I'm breathing on 50's neck. And every single day God gives me to open my eyes, I'm going to create something that's closer and closer to the me that He sent me to be here. Okay. Marissa says we are intentionally taught that our options are limited so that we must settle. We're much easier to control that way. One day, Black people in general in this country are going to have to reconcile and reckon with why we are so rules based, obedience minded, and rigid in what is and isn't acceptable. Could it be fruit off, like Stephanie Perry says, the slavery tree? Did somebody else benefit from the collective consciousness of Blackness being obedient, controllable? Options are few. Truth is, we're tired. Tamala said, "Hey, options are few." Who benefits from that? Let me tell you something, black woman, it's not you. It's not you. And if you are perpetuating the rules-based conversations for other people who are trying to break free, now, boo boo, I have bad news for you. Brace yourself. I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. You are the crab in the barrel pulling a sister down who's trying to liberate herself from something. If you are a rigid black and white thinker who is telling a black woman who is trying to liberate herself by creating a life based off of her actual known rooted and grounded identity, or she's just scrappling. At this point, she don't even know who she is, but she know this not her. She might not know who she is yet. She haven't gotten there yet, okay? But she know that's not it, because that's where I started. I was like, "I don't know what I'm looking for, but I know that's not it." Okay, that don't fit. That don't take it off. Get it off of me, okay? If you start perpetuating the messaging of the system in that woman's ear, boo-boo, you are the crab in the barrel. Ah, ah, stop it. Tip number 3, you don't always have to go back and find yourself. Although that is super important. One of the things that Marissa herself, who was on here talking to me about, both of us realized that on our healing journey, a lot of the healing that we were doing was just going back and picking up the childhood version of ourselves. We were like, who left her there? And we realized that there was the messaging that we were both given to drop off pieces of ourselves, to break off pieces of ourselves, to be successful, to feel safe, to feel included, to work the system when the system was designed to work us. Mm. Many of us have taken on binary thinkers of our oppressors, the trauma. This is what I just heard. I'm not gonna go into a lot of it, but this is what I just heard, Marissa. God in a box. God in the image of man. A digestible, comprehensible God. Divine comprehension. God in a box. Walled in with rules and all that. When I don't think that's what the divine is. I don't. I'm not saying I know what he, she, it is. I don't know. Okay. What I'm saying is when I sit with the divine within, the God within me, I will not fail. He will help me at the break of day. I think God is bigger than we will ever comprehend in a way that allows for our divine identity to show up. Is it radical? Yes. Is it scary? Yes. Does the system always allow for it? No, not in this woman body, not in this black body, but it is courageous. And it is for me, it's non-negotiable at this point because God's not in a box and neither am I. Okay, let's keep on. So identity work is healing work. It's not necessarily just self-improvement work. It's about the capacity to pause, give yourself space to see what's going on in there. Rattle around inside yourself. Allow real things to show up in your body, real things to come up in your spirit, real things to come up in your mind. Ask yourself questions, become curious, and slowly start showing up in your life as your authentic self, right? The question I would pose to you guys is what is one role or one label that you have outgrown that people still expect from you? I legitimately feel like when the meat suit experience is over, Marissa, and I go back into the big orb of source light or wherever we go. I don't know what God is. Okay, because I feel like this anthropomorphic man version that we came up with might be patriarchal. And I'm not saying that because I'm some woo-woo out here in the streets. Okay. I'm saying that as a person that reads my Bible every single day and be digging deep into the languages. I think we have patriarchy has anthropomorphized, had made a man out of God in a way that, like, I don't know. Let me leave that alone because that's not what this video is about. I am confusion, okay? I'm like, when you go to the source text, what? Anyway, how y'all get there? That's what I'm trying to figure. How did y'all get there? God in a box, okay? It's like the only way you could understand something that big was to crush it into something in your image, and I don't know. One of my identity things is I am divinely aligned, which means I don't be spaying them. I am not afraid of men in their faces anymore. A lot I shouldn't say anymore because I'm human and fear exists, but I'm shedding the fear of men in their faces, and I am choosing to be aligned with God, the divine, period. Every day I wake up, I want to be a that's part of my identity, and it's an anchor that helps me make choices, which gets me to the next thing, okay? So, let me move down here to the last thing. So, reclaiming, redesigning, rediscovering, creating your identity is sacred work. It's healing work. It's a choice, and people get to choose it or not. When you start this type of work, when you start figuring out who you authentically are, when you start honoring those pieces of you, when you start allowing them to take up space in your life, it gives you clarity. It cuts through the noise. It helps you make decisions that are aligned with who you are. Hey, Lori, thank you for my pineapple. Right? I have found, and in my clients, I have found it gives you peace. Because, like I told you, the noise around you will be saying all kinds of stuff. But when you close your eyes at night and you're about to go to sleep, you know that you made a decision and you made a choice based off of what you want to create in your life. And there is nothing more satisfying than that. It don't even matter if the rest of the world is screaming at you. You just be like, bed be warm, bed be feeling cooler, pillow be cooler. You know what I'm saying? Everything feel better. All right. Everything feels better about it. The other thing that I love about having an identity, a concept of who you are, a clearer concept of who you are, is it helps you set and maintain boundaries. What is a boundary? A boundary is what you say yes to and what you say no to, not what other people say yes and other people say no to, not rules that you put in for other people. It's what you will do and what you won't do, okay? When you know who you are, it is much easier to create a life with boundaries that reflect that. When you don't know who you are, you often don't have any boundaries, and everybody's in and out. It's just a situation at this point. You are resenting people for something that you actually curated. Instead of cussing people out because you think they're traipsing all over your boundary, you should be looking in the mirror and cussing yourself out. Sorry. Let me drink the water again. Let me see. I don't know if this water working, man. Let me see here. I should have put some CBD drops in here. I came in. I haven't been here for weeks. I came in a little spicy. Let me see if I could get it's electrolytes in here, so and some teas. I got some random teas brewed up from Green Heifer Farm from Pharmacy in here. Okay. I didn't put enough of the botanical unbotheredness in there. Okay. The last thing that is so important about knowing who you are is when you know who you are, when you can answer that question with some certainty. You're never going to be 100% because as you live here, you're always going to be evolving, right? You begin to shed the life that you had that was a performance, people, places, and things that no longer align with that identity. And you begin to create a life that is more aligned. Now, there is a little dip in there, okay? There's a dip in the middle, and not a pleasurable dip. Not a dip, baby, dip, like a bad dip, like a you shed everybody, but you don't have people yet. But let me be the spoiler to tell you that when you go through the valley of the shadow of death, on the other side of that, okay? A valley got sides, okay? When you feel like when you feel like it's all gone, there's something on the other side of that. And I was just sitting the other day reveling in the fact that I have created such an amazing group of supportive Black women around me. I am astonished at this point, okay? The support that's coming my way is overtaking me, and it's been intentional. So, if you start curating, discovering, showing up in your life as your authentic self and things start to fall off, fret not because there is something on the other side, okay? Your identity is important because your identity is used as your internal compass. Once you start being able to answer the question of who I am really, that is when you start healing and when you begin coming home to yourself. If you would like to work with me as your coach, Black women, okay, and West Indian women, amen. I have a coaching membership for Black and West Indian women. I help them heal and create lives that they love and not just tolerate. In that membership, we get coach a monthly theme. This particular month, I'm adding identity work. However, if you join the membership, you start at month one. Month one is about understanding your nervous system and creating safety. Everybody goes through the how to heal framework at the same pace, so we all have the same information. However, I follow themes every month so that we know what we're talking about on the calls, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. In those coaching, in the coaching membership under how to heal, you get a course, sorry, my brain is whatever. You get resources on the topic, you get prompts, there is a community, right? And we have a monthly live group call with the other women who are in the membership. This is a great option if you need steady support, if you are on a healing journey and you feel like nobody else in your world is even remotely close to where you are and you don't know what to do, come and join us. The link is on the screen, thepineapplecrowns.com. You can also do I have a standalone Who Am I Identity course. Um, I added a link to it on thepineapplecrowns.com yesterday. If you go there and you click on standalone courses, you'll be able to see the Who Am I Identity course, and you'll be able to sign up for that. If you are a Pineapple Crown member, you will get access to that course. You will get a shorter version of that course within the How to Heal framework. And if that's sufficient for you, then God bless. If it is not sufficient and you want to go deeper, you get a $100 off coupon in the month for the Who Am I Identity course. Okay, so that is two ways that you can access that information if you need to dive deeper and you need help. Okay, you don't have to do this alone. Black women are out here doing the work to give you the shortcuts because you don't have to figure everything out from scratch. Life is too short for you to have to figure everything out from scratch, boo boo, okay? And if that's how you've been doing it, that's probably why you're exhausted. We do community support. All right? Pull yourself up by your bootstraps is a trick of the colonizer. Sorry. It's a trick to keep you distracted. Reach out your hand. Ask for help, accept help, let us help you. If you don't work with me, there are plenty of other Black women on the internet doing this liberating work, and I will see you on the internet sometime. Do not forget, I am not going live every Friday anymore because your girl has had made some changes. However, I will probably be live next Friday with a guest speaking specifically about Black women, our identity, and our natural hair. And our natural hair, you guys, because that's one of my favorite conversations, so stay tuned for that. I will see you. Thank you, Lori. Be well, you guys. Be encouraged. Here's a pineapple. It was great to be back. Bye.